Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking something pretty wild. We're going to break down why simply stepping away from the practice room might actually be your ultimate cognitive hack for elite execution. We've totally been conditioned to believe that just pushing through exhausting, endless practice sessions is the only way to get great. But what if the secret to breaking through your current plateau isn't about what you do with your instrument, but actually what you do when you put it away?
Look, we have all been there, right? You hit an absolute wall. You're putting in the hours, you're grinding away, repeating that one infuriatingly difficult passage over and over again, but it just refuses to lock into your muscle memory. No matter how many times you run it, you're exhausted, it's 2 a.m., and it honestly feels like your progress has completely flatlined.
And when that intense frustration hits, our first instinct is totally predictable. We think, oh, I just need to practice more. We start frantically scouring YouTube for some secret technique, a new bowing, or a completely different fingering to fix the issue. We just assume the solution is to force more reps and practice harder, thinking sheer willpower is the missing piece of the puzzle. But here's the catch. By obsessing over what we're doing inside the practice room, we are completely ignoring our biology outside of it. When you sacrifice your rest, force those late-night reps, or, let's be honest, decide to binge Netflix instead of going to bed, you actively sabotage your brain's ability to consolidate motor skills. You're basically guaranteeing that you'll show up to rehearsal feeling foggy. Your reaction times slow down, your rhythmic execution gets super sloppy, and your performance anxiety spikes, all simply because your brain lacks the sharpness it desperately needs. This actually brings up a really fascinating parallel. Clinical studies looking at elite, high-level athletes reveal that sleep acts incredibly like a performance-enhancing drug. When these top-tier athletes simply increase the amount of sleep they get each night, they see massive, measurable improvements in both their speed and their precision. The crazy part? They don't train harder to get these jumps. They literally just sleep more.
So let's look at the 2025 Pelletier study on musicians and sleep to see how this translates.
To find out exactly how sleep impacts musical execution, researcher B. Pelletier studied a really diverse group of musicians, ranging from 18 to 55 years old. And to be clear, these weren't beginners. We're talking performance majors and professional musicians playing strings, woodwinds, brass, and piano. And perhaps the most crucial detail here, before this study even started, these musicians were all functioning on a baseline of just about 6 hours of sleep a night. Sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? The researchers set up this brilliant experiment. They split the musicians into two camps. First, a control group, who were told to just keep up their normal sleep-deprived habits. And second, an extended sleep group. This group was given a strict, highly specific mission. They had to sleep an extra 90 minutes every single night for 1 full week. Now, to measure the impact of that extra rest, they established a baseline by putting everyone through 3 pretty brutal musical tests. Number 1, rhythm, tapping in time with a metronome for absolute precision. Number 2, sight reading, playing a newly composed 25-measure excerpt at a strict 100 beats per minute. And finally, memorization. They were given just 5 minutes to memorize a completely unfamiliar 25-measure piece. I mean, have you ever tried to memorize weird new music in 5 minutes on 6 hours of sleep? It is a total nightmare. Let's move on to the data-driven results and see what actually happened. Because all the musicians had taken the sight reading test a week earlier, you'd naturally expect a slight improvement, just from familiarity, right? And we do see that. The control group, sticking to their roughly 6 hours of sleep, improved their sight reading by just 1 point. But get this. The extended sleep group, who successfully bumped their sleep up to about 7.5 hours, improved by over 5.5 points. The gap in cognitive processing speed is just massive. And that exact same trend popped up in rhythmic stability. The control group saw a tiny, modest bump from 67.49 to 69.81. But the sleep group, they made a noticeably larger jump in precision, going from 59.75 up to 65.60. That extra 90 minutes was actively fine-tuning their internal metronomes and really tightening up their motor control. But hey, if you thought the sight reading and rhythm results were impressive, the results for that brutal 5-minute memorization test were absolutely staggering. The sleep group scores didn't just inch up, they completely skyrocketed. Their baseline scores started at an average of 30.52, but after a week of getting extended sleep, that score nearly doubled, blasting all the way up to an incredible 57.12. Their brain's ability to absorb, retain, and recall complex information was fundamentally transformed. It's like a night and day difference. Now, just to be incredibly thorough here, the study's author notes a fascinating caveat that we really have to acknowledge. Adding 90 minutes of sleep to a busy professional schedule takes immense motivation. You have to sacrifice other things.
Because the sleep group tried so hard to change their habits, they might have simply been highly motivated to focus harder during the final tests just to prove their effort actually paid off. As the old statistics joke goes, correlation doesn't always equal causation. It's kind of like the bizarrely perfect statistical correlation between the per capita consumption of margarine and the divorce rate in Maine. Obviously, one doesn't cause the other. But honestly, whether the improvement came purely from neurological recovery in the brain or just the intense psychological focus required to prioritize rest in the first place, the bottom line is undeniably clear. Sleep profoundly impacts your attention and memory. It boosts your charisma and stage presence because you literally aren't running on fumes. And so importantly, it actively reduces negative rumination and lowers that awful performance anxiety that strikes when you feel unprepared or foggy. So, the absolutely crucial point we need to take away from this explainer is that we've got to stop treating rest as some kind of luxury. We need to start using it as our ultimate practice hack. I want to leave you with a direct, provocative question to ask yourself tonight. Are you willing to trade just one late-night TV episode to unlock a massive, proven boost in your memory, accuracy, and elite execution? Really think about that the next time you hit a wall in the practice room. Better performance isn't always about doing more. Sometimes it's just about knowing when to finally close your eyes.